If I'm still on here in 10 minutes, please tell me to leave because I have to get to my yoga class and I just can go on and on about topics. Today I'm going to answer a question that someone asked. I think his name is Robert Stale. Asked about looking at my before and after pictures. Hi, Rob! Woo! This guy was looking at my before and after pictures and said, oh yeah, so what kind of foods have you been eating that make, that have helped the transformation and all that kind of thing. And maybe I'm going to be a little bit controversial, but eating spirulina, superfoods, eating super healthy, but having a damaged aura, negative thought patterns, low self-esteem, destructive behaviors, no amount of superfood is going to heal your radiance, your aura, change your life completely. So food can definitely be, food is definitely an amazing way of healing the body and moving forward in your evolution in your life, but it's not like the only thing. And it certainly wasn't in my journey, so I'll keep it personal. I'll just talk about my journey with it. And going back to the end of my university years where I started kind of getting a bit wild, and I was partying too often and not looking after myself, and I ended up with psoriasis head to foot. So some people on here might remember me then, but I literally had the spotty psoriasis. So I kind of looked like I had measles or chickenpox, and that was, self-inflicted. Psoriasis is oh, I've forgotten all the words for it now. I haven't talked that in so long. What's it called? So like if my body went into a weakness, that would be one of my weaknesses. It's like is it in my genes? Is it something? It's a something disease? Imbalance? I can't remember. Anyway, I still have tiny amounts of psoriasis, but it's like completely not an issue to me anymore. But it was everywhere, and I never had it as a kid either. My mum's an amazing cook, and I always ate really healthy at home when I was growing up. But yeah, looking after myself proved to be quite difficult, and I just really went too far. Pushed myself to autoimmune. Thank you, Rob. An autoimmune disease. So it's just like a weakness in my particular system. It's a metabolic thing. So people with psoriasis have a particularly high metabolism, and if you're pushing your body to the extremes, then that's like pushing it even harder. And what happens is that the food that psoriatic people eat breaks down. Oh, Rob, can you kick me off here in 10 minutes? Because otherwise I'm not going to get to yoga class. I have to be gone in 10 minutes. Thank you. So when you eat food, if you have like psoriasis kind of out of control, what's happening is that you're ingesting food that everyone else is ingesting, but it's breaking down to a different chemical. It's like the end reaction is different in the stomach because you have like this really high metabolism. So certain foods like wheat and some cheeses and pulses and the nightshade family, it breaks down into like little spiky nodes that then rip the lining of the stomach. And that means that when you ingest food or toxins, they're going straight out into your bloodstream and they're coming off in that like kind of flaky thing going on. Red, angry, flaky thing. And so what you need to do is heal the gut. And what happened with me is that I ended up moving out of Lancaster, getting away from all my bad habits. And I really took the time to learn all about psoriasis, all about food. This is like 11 years ago now. I think it must be 11 years ago. And I really went for it, and basically for 2 months solid, I cut out all the things that have seemed to irritate people with psoriasis. And there's an amazing book, if you haven't, I don't think it's in print anymore, but you might be able to find secondhand copies for any friends or people that you know that have psoriasis. It's called How I Overcame Psoriasis, and it's like a guy with a marble torso. Anyway, I'm going off on tangents. So you go really strict, you pull out all the things that could possibly harm you, and you eat like, you take grapefruit seed extract, and then you heal the gut for a while with really like slippery elm bark and aloe vera and that kind of thing. And then you start reintroducing things very slowly, one at a time. And then you see, oh my God, I've been poisoning myself for a very long time. Certain foods that I just can't, I had a sip of beer and it literally burnt all my tongue, all down my esophagus. It was horrible. So I found out that there was a lot of foods I just can't eat. you know, that can be really distressing to people and can be quite upsetting that, you know, I can't eat food that's on about 15 aisles of the supermarket. There's no even any point going down them. But once you start knowing where you can shop and what you can't eat and where to go and not to go, then it becomes a bit easier. It just becomes a normal routine. And then then Isla was born. So I became really, really super healthy, had Isla. And then I kind of, you know, I was at home breastfeeding and all that kind of thing, and I got kind of obsessed with nutrition, and so I was learning all about superfoods, nutrition, the power of raw chocolate. I even bought a massive industrial chocolate making machine, was making loads of raw chocolate for parties and that kind of thing in Wales. It was just a real passion. I felt like I actually put myself through a mini university degree on food and nutrition, and this is 10 years ago, 10 and a half years ago or so. But I realized that even raw chocolate wasn't so great for my psoriasis type symptoms. By the way, when I did that 2-month detox type thing for the psoriasis, it completely cleared. I've never had an attack like it again. I have like one tiny little spot on my elbows, and it just really not, I mean, I probably could do another one of those detoxes, but I don't feel like I suffer with it at all. But from that time on, I realised that there's loads of foods I can't eat, and what I did and how I empowered myself. And people maybe remember from a few years ago, I used to post a lot about food, and I got really arty and inventive with different foods. And what I was doing was replacing, like if I can't eat wheat, I'll eat rye bread, or if I can't eat potatoes, I'll eat sweet potatoes. If I can't eat sugar, there's all sorts of different kinds of alternatives, you know, like xylitol or stevia I don't like so much, agave, all these kind of things. And you can get into the ethics of which ones are more sustainable, blah, blah, blah. But the idea was that I'm not ever missing out. I don't feel like I miss out on foods, even though I can't eat half the stuff most people eat. So this is, if you look at the before and after pictures that this Robert asked me about what do I eat, because he looked at the before and after pictures and all the glowing skin and all that. I told him that it wasn't food that made me look like the before photos, where I look a bit haggard. That's not food related. I mean, obviously I'd been eating healthily for like 10 years and I still looked like that. So, you know, what else is going on? So I know now that I had a very leaky aura. I was completely my aura, my energy field was damaged. It was laden with stuff I don't want anymore. And when you have a leaky aura, other people's energy is coming in, and other people's energy, and your own energy is going out. So you end up feeling drained and possibly confused and heavy and like, oh, not comfortable, just not clear. And that's why I looked like I did. And there's other parts of that. There's like the low self-esteem, there's the negative thought patterns, there's the incessant worrying, there's the complaining, there's the guilt, the shame. Or if all that stuff is running through your system, you're not going to be glowing. Doesn't matter how much spirulina you eat and how many, you know, much bee pollen and you know, manuka and sprouties you eat. It's not enough. You need to combine healthy eating and the healthy food and looking after yourself, but also do the deep inner work, do the emotional processing. And if you're brave, have an aura transformation. If your energy field is knackered and you know you leak energy and everyone's comes in, then an aura transformation would really, really help. So yeah, food alone wasn't enough for me to look like I do now or have that glowy thing. The glowy thing is the crystal aura. And all the inner work I did before. And I'm kind of gearing up to doing a live about the dark night of the soul and all the inner work I did before I even heard of aura transformation. And that was very, very deep, very meaty, really getting into the depths of my soul and all the patterns I've displayed over the years and years and years. For me, the aura transformation was essential for the new aura, but it was a cherry on the top in terms of really kind of coming at one with myself. So there's a share, I'm going to do a live, and I don't know if it'll be this week or next week, because it's something I'm going to have to write out a little bit, because it's a pretty huge period of, it was 9 months of my life where I really went in deeply into the inner work and emotional detoxing and really changing my life. That's before aura transformation. So that's coming up, and I look forward to doing that. And yeah, so what else have I got to say? So yeah, now I'm not puritanical about food. I do eat cheese sometimes, I do have sugar sometimes, but I tend to cook with all the alternatives that I mentioned before. I tend to, you know, not, I can't eat wheat at all. I ferment foods, but I don't call it treating myself if I end up eating some like gluten-free sugar cake or something, you know. It's just okay, you just fill up with all the good stuff too. It's like not being in deprivation, not denying yourself, not yeah, that's it, just pretty relaxed about the food thing. I just buy the things I know I can eat, and yeah, but there's certain things I know are just poison, so I just don't bother with them at all. And another announcement is that me and Isla are doing a live together on Friday again, and it's about single mums and dating, and I'm quite excited about that. And I'm going to go to yoga. Bye, bye, bye. Oh, please, can you guys ask me questions if you have questions, because I'm very happily interact with people listening, or even if you ask questions when it's not live anymore, I'll happily answer them. And yeah, and I'll occasionally make a post saying, do you have any questions for me? Because churning out all this information all the time isn't, you know, it takes a bit of like focus to try and figure out what you're going to talk about next. Lots of love. Bye.